Boy howdy, let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of culling that needs to happen in the Jade Green tank. If we take a look at what's going on here, we've got a few different, not necessarily generations, but different siblings that came from different mothers in this tank at different times. And some of them clearly are just not gonna make the cut. So they'll need to be culled. Like some of these relatively clear ones, those guys ain't gonna be staying in this tank, but they'll be sold off for a pretty cheap price to someone who will actually enjoy them. And then some of them are indeed the color that I am going for, and they'll stay. And it's going to take quite a while to get a stable genetic situation where each successive generation is within a reasonable amount of the desired color. So Jade Green is a line of colors that I'm not too familiar with. This is my first go around with them. And boy howdy, I'll tell you what, they breed. Well, this particular set that I got, they breed like crazy. There was an absolute shrimp explosion of babies. And if you look around, there's pretty much a baby anywhere you look in terms of this tank. And you just got to look hard enough. But it is going to be a lot of work, and it is going to take a lot of time because, like for instance, my Bloody Mary Reds look amazing, but they didn't always look like that. It took a year or two of culling to get to that kind of coloration. And even then, my camera's not doing them justice. They are super gorgeous. But Jade Green, you know, this is a line that comes from a breeder in Taiwan, and there were some problems. One of the shrimps that I was given had Elabiopsidae, and the other one had Vorticilla, and they've been removed as soon as I noticed. And the rest of them, as far as I can tell, look perfectly fine. There was a major water change done in this tank to try and remove as much bad miasma, I guess you might call it. Bad juju. Bad things that the eye can't see, you know, to try and keep the tank nice and clean. And actually, this is the first tank that went from well water to RO water plus, let's see, salty shrimp mineral GH plus KH. And they did perfectly fine, actually, in the transition. I basically did like a 95% water change, which is absolutely unreasonable most of the time. But given that this line of shrimp had infected shrimps, I really needed to get all the bad water, as much of the floating around of bad stuff out of there as best I could. And unfortunately, that was just really one of the only ways to really nip it in the bud. And they seem to be doing okay. In fact, they were doing okay well enough that I'm experimenting with my orange colony to see how they like the salty shrimp mixture. Because I will admit, doing RO water plus salty shrimp is a very, very stable way of having parameters throughout the year. Because my well water's parameters can shift throughout the year for a variety of reasons. But, man, there are just going to be so many greens I got to get rid of. And that's okay, but I'm basically waiting for a few generations worth of shrimp before I start doing anything. And then I'll sell all the culls, and I'll probably switch the substrate back to black. Because the white substrate was important at first because the shrimp that I originally got were basically black, and when contrasting against the black substrates that I usually use, you literally could not see them. But the kind of color jade green that I am going for definitely can be seen against the black substrate. And, well, I've got some extra, I just got to clean it. And then doing the swap, I got to grab all of them, put them in a shrimp net or a breeder box, And you know, we're dealing right now with shrimps that are that small. You know, they're only like 4 grains of sand in length right now. So before I do anything major, I want to have a good stock of the shrimps. So it's going to be a while, but hopefully I'll have a really great genetic line of green shrimps in the coming probably year.